guys, good afternoon. I know some of you it's the evening, so thank you so much for joining. Today's going to be fun. We've got a JVC projector here. I've got it here at my house, and needed to have a firmware update done to it. It's been out for a while and being used for a while, and it's really never been calibrated. We've used this projector for classes several times throughout the years, and it's spent a lot of its life just kind of sitting in the lab and not being used a whole bunch. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to play with it a little bit and to calibrate it and to just kind of walk you guys through the process and some of the things that I'm seeing and some of the things that I'll point out to you guys. Now this is a JVC RS600. So give me a moment here. I'm going to share my screen, and you guys should see. Tom, do you see my website right now? Do you see my screen?
Yep, we sure do, Jason.
Okay, cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So that reminds me, actually, Tom Devine is here. He's hanging out with us for a little while. There is a question box here in the webinar, so feel free to type any questions in there. Tom will check them. I'll check them as well, and I'll answer those questions for you as much as I can. I see a lot of really familiar faces and names on the webinar today, so thank you guys so much. And guys, this isn't just me telling you guys how you should do it. This is how I do it. And if you have any suggestions or questions, or maybe you have any tips, maybe some of you guys, I know some of the names on this webinar. Some of you guys may have worked on dozens and dozens and dozens of JVC projectors. Guys, feel free. If I'm missing something, or if you have any tips or anything about this specific model, I haven't calibrated a ton of these, to be honest with you, so I think it'll be fun to play. But feel free, speak up, use the hand raising function or use the question box. And if you guys see me missing something, feel free to speak up. We're all here to kind of learn and have fun, and yeah, just see what we can do with this thing. So just a little bit about this specific projector. It's a JVC RS600. It's from I think 2016 or 17. It's a 1080p natively, but it does have the 4K E shift. 1900 lumens, claims 1.5 million to 1 contrast ratio. It does have a nice zoom and a lens shift. This retailed for about 10 grand back in its prime, in its day. Still a great projector. It is a traditional lamp-based projector, so no laser or anything like that. So it's just like your normal sort of what we kind of call old school projectors now. But what's interesting about this one is, you know, for being used mostly in trainings, it doesn't have a lot of hours on it. So it's almost like when you find a car in a garage that, you know, an old lady has driven to the grocery store, you know, a few times during the month, and it's a 1990 car with 14,000 miles on it. This is kind of the situation here. This is a 2016 or 17 projector with about 300 hours on it, so not a ton. The firmware had never been updated on it, at least as far as I know. So I spent some time several days ago updating the firmware. That was sort of a process, but it worked out just fine. There was a very specific adapter that I had to get to do the firmware update, but it all worked great after that. A couple other things. I do have Projector Central up on the screen right now just to show you guys what I'm doing here specifically, and kind of some of the things I'm looking for. So the screen I'm using right now is a 2:3:5:1 aspect ratio at 85 inches diagonally. So with that aspect ratio and that size of screen, the throw distance is 12 feet 3 inches, and the center of the lens should be 17 inches up from the bottom of the screen, or in other words, dead center with the screen. So I basically got that all set up right now. I'm right at 12 feet away, and I've got the projector dead center with the screen right here. So I really didn't have to use much lens shift at all, which was cool. I got it focused in really easily. The geometry on it was a little wacky to set up on a 2:3:5. It wasn't hard by any means. It just took a little extra time. And luckily, this projector does have several slots for lens memory. So I've got a 16:9 memory saved, and I've also got a 2:3:5 memory saved as well. And earlier, before the webinar started, I had popped on a 2:3:5 movie, and it's really cool seeing that 2:3:5, you know, filled up all the way. It's super, super nice. This is an elite screen, and it is with a 1.1 gain. So, you know, based on all these specs, with the throw distance and that size of screen with this bright of a projector, we should be around 66 foot Lamberts by the end of the day here. Now that might not be necessarily calibrated. That might be the projector's brightest mode, but I'll take you guys along this journey with me, and we'll measure all the modes. We'll look at all the different gamma settings and the lamp settings and stuff, and we'll just kind of go through the menus and whatnot, and yeah, we'll play with this and see what we can get out of it. Now, one thing I do want to bring up before we really get started here is this JVC projector does have some JVC software that comes with it. And that's this software right here. This is how we unlock the ISF modes. Now, on this particular projector, the ISF modes had already been unlocked. And I believe on this projector that I cannot access a color management menu unless I'm using this software. I've dug through all the menus. I've gone through them multiple times. I can't find CMS on this menu, on this projector, in these menus rather. So if you guys have any tips on maybe where to find that CMS, feel free to let me know. If not, I do have the RS-232 connection here, and if we have some time at the end, maybe we'll play around with this a little bit. I do have it connected, but I haven't gone through and actually done much yet other than turn it on right here. So we'll see how the CMS turns out. We'll see how Rec 709 dials in. And maybe we'll use it, maybe we won't. It all depends. This projector is capable of HDR, but I'll tell you guys, we're not going to do HDR today. We're just going to do SDR, just because this is first gen HDR. I don't expect it to track the EOTF very well. Not to say that the picture is not going to look good with HDR afterwards, but if you guys have practiced any HDR calibration on projectors in the past few years, it's tough. It's very tough. So maybe we'll play with it a little bit if we have time, but this is primarily going to be an SDR calibration. And last but not least, the last thing I want to tell you about this system, as fate would have it, as luck would have it, the remote for this projector somehow died. So I don't know if it happened when it got shipped to me or whatever, but the remote has died. I've tried different batteries. I've tried everything I can. So luckily it does have some front panel controls, so I'll still be able to get to the menus and get through the menus and whatnot with the front panel controls. So no big deal there. Before we get really started here, let's check the question box. I don't know if anybody has come in and asked a question yet already. Okay, Chris makes a good point here. I've experienced that if you have a dark room and your AV equipment is opposite of your projection screen, any LEDs, like blue ones in his case, cast a light on the projection screen, which is very visible at night. This is a great point, Chris. One of the big tips I give people to calibrate a projector is to make sure that the room is as dark as possible, and any lights that can be turned off, turn them off. I've got some blackout curtains over my windows here. It's not pitch black, but it's pretty darn close. I do have a little bit of light in here. You might see some light reflecting behind me right here, and that's because I've got a 100% white full field up on the projector right now, so it's kind of lighting up the entire room right now. I do have another webcam set up over here, so you can kind of see the screen and see the menus as I'm going through here. Let me switch webcams for you real quick so you can kind of see. And Tom, you tell me, can you see the other webcam now facing the screen? You can kind of see the shadow of the Klein.
Sorry, I was on mute there, Jason. But yes, we see the projector.
Okay. Cool. All right, great. So I do have this webcam set up. You guys will be able to see the menus. This webcam is kind of tricky with the focus. I have to get the webcam really close to the screen to make it focus right. And when it's really close to the screen, you can only read 1 or 2 lines. So I backed it up. It might be a little blurry. I hope it's not too bad for you guys. I actually do have a new webcam on my wish list, one that's a little bit better on focusing and things. This webcam was like $100. It's a popular brand, but not a high-end one or a really super expensive one by any means. If you guys, by the way, if you do have any suggestions on a good webcam that's not a ton of money that I can use with USB, I'd love to hear those suggestions, guys. So feel free to use that in the question box. I think I did see one more question come in before we get started here. Let me double check that. And the question is, why not an HDR projector? This projector is HDR, but I can promise you it's not going to calibrate well with HDR. So we might look at it, but I don't think we're going to have very much luck doing any calibration to the HDR at all. It might just be a matter of putting it in the right mode, and maybe the white balance controls will work. We'll see. It's just my experience in the past 3 to 5 years with projectors when they do HDR. There's just not enough horsepower for it to track right. And again, not to say that the picture doesn't look good. It definitely is a little brighter and more color and things like that. But when you start comparing it to the reference charts and things like that, they're just not there yet, and that's okay. So like I said, we'll concentrate mostly on the SDR, and depending on how we are on time and stuff, guys, maybe we'll do a follow-up on this later, and we'll just see how we're doing on time. So with that being said, let me go ahead and get rid of this screen so you guys can see Calman. And you should see Calman and the camera right now. Tom, can you confirm that for me?
I'm still only able to see the projector throw distance calculator.
Okay, let me
the
pull
website
up
from Projector Central that shows the JVC.
Okay, thank you so much. So let me share this.
And now I can see Calman.
Okay, great. So you can see Calman and you can see the camera.
Yep, and I stepped away for just a second to talk to Moni, but did you see these questions that came in at all yet, Jason?
Yeah, yep, I've already got them. Thank you so much.
Perfect, excellent.
Okay, cool. So, like I said, guys, we've got Calman up on the screen, depending on how we are on time and how it responds. I also have the ISF calibrator, the JVC software up here as well. I'm already connected and ready to go. I don't have a ton of experience with this. I've done lots of the Sonys with the Sony software. But yeah, just for some reason, for the past 24 months or so, most of the private calibrations I've been doing on projection systems, at least, have all been Sonys. So I'm a little out of practice with the JVC software, but we'll see how it goes. Now, that being said, let me check the question box one more time and see if anybody has anything before we start. And boom, no new questions. Okay, fantastic, guys. So like I said, feel free to type those questions in, use the hand raising tool. I'll see it, Tom will see it, and one of us will address that question. Okay, great. So a little bit about the setup here. As I said before, it's a JVC RS600, 85-inch 235-to-1 screen with a 1.1 gain. I'm using a Murideo 6G generator to get all my test patterns on the screen. I'm using a Klein K10 colorimeter, using the UHP facing screen profile. I'm not going to do a profile with my Jetty on this one, guys, only because my Jetty is currently in Germany, getting a firmware update and getting recalibrated. I've had it about a year now, and considering we do have some downtime right now, I did go ahead and send that in for recalibration. So I don't have the Jetty at the moment, but I am going to use the Klein. And once the Jetty comes back, I'll probably do some spot checking to see if everything's okay. And hopefully it will be. And if not, I'll just touch up the white balance a little bit, and we should still be on target. So cool. All right. Now that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the Calman workflow. For this workflow, I'm going to be using the ISF calibration workflow. So we're going to go ahead and fire up that workflow now. Here we are at the beginning of the workflow, and I'm going to start a new session. And this is going to be the JVC RS600, and we'll do SDR, and this is April 2020. And we're going to change the calibrator over to me. Again, guys, I don't know if I had mentioned this to you last time when we did this with the LG TV. This is a brand new laptop to me. I've only had it for a week or so. So just remember, if you do get a new laptop with Calman, you do have to deactivate your Calman license on your old laptop and activate it on the new laptop. When you do that on the new laptop, you will have to go in and refill in some of these default parameters that you may have already done on your old laptop. That stuff doesn't transfer over. So things like the calibrator company and the calibrator name, you're going to probably want to go ahead and refill those out if you do end up like me with a new laptop. So just a quick reminder. So we're going to go JVC SDR April 2020. I'm just going to put myself in there as a client. The display, we're going to go JVC RS600. I'm not going to worry about the serial number here, but I am going to make a note that we're at like 331 hours or so. I checked about an hour ago, and that's where we were at. So we'll go ahead and create that. And again, we're going to use the ISF workflow, which is right here. And boom. Okay, the workflow is going to load. And we are ready to rock and roll. Now, most of you guys have probably used Calman in the past. If not, I'll give you some kind of tips and tricks as I go along here. One of the great things about Calman is everything is set up as in like a workflow type of situation. So every single step we're going to make in this calibration, these are all the steps over here. And how I advance through the workflow is this next button down here at the bottom. So we'll work on one page, click next, work on the next page, click next, so on and so on. And eventually we'll be through this entire workflow right here. Okay, so we're going to press next. Now, before I joined with you guys, I went ahead and got all my equipment connected, but I'll just show you what I did real quick. We've got a Klein K10. Again, I've got a front projector UHP facing the screen. Really nothing else to do here other than that. I did use my pointer. Maybe you guys can see that on the screen right now. Let me double check to see if you can see it. One big piece of advice I'll give to anybody who's calibrating a projector. You don't want to aim the meter in the shadow of the meter on the screen. So if I can take a look at my webcam here, maybe you guys can can you see the laser pointer? It should be near the middle of the screen. If I darken the if I darken the patch I'm reading right here, it should be very easy to see. So let's see, let me pull up like a 10% window, and then boom, now you should be able to see the, hopefully you can see the laser. Yep, there you go. You can see the laser a little bit better. So you can see I've got the laser aimed just above where the shadow of the meter is. I've gotten calls in the past before from calibrators who are like, man, I don't know what's going on. I'm getting funky readings. And it turns out that the meter was reading into the shadow of the meter, of its own shadow. So just be aware of that, guys, especially if you have a meter like a Klein or a Jetty or something with a laser pointer. Just make sure when it's on the tripod that you're not shooting into the shadow. And what I did here is I just set the tripod on the Klein a little bit lower, and I just angled it up just slightly so you can see where I'm aiming there right now. So good. Okay, so let's turn this off. Let's turn the laser pointer off, and it looks like maybe a question has come in. Let me double check that. And the question is, should the Klein K10 be? The Klein K10 should be in line from the main seating position to the center of the screen, right? Chris, yes, that's a good point. I definitely like to aim the meter at the center of the screen because that's where most of the action is. That's where you're looking most of the time. Plus, if there's any, this is a 1.1 gain screen. Whether this is a gain screen or an OLED or an LCD, one thing we're always worried about is uniformity. So I want to aim for the middle of the screen, and I want to make sure that I'm taking a fairly small sample size in case there are any viewing angle issues or color shift issues. This is a 1.1 chroma white screen from Elite, so I don't think we'll have any of those issues, but that's an excellent point. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, great. Now on the signal generator, again, it's my Murideo 6G. I've got the window size set to full 100. This is a DILA projector, so we could do full 100, we could do 10% windows, we could do 18% windows, 25% windows. Honestly, guys, on a projector like this, it doesn't really matter. I do have it set to 1920 by 1080, 24 frames per second. I do have it set to a video format, outputting 444 at 8-bit, and because we're doing SDR, we're going to have the HDR turned off. And then the direct display tab, we're going to ignore for now because we're not doing any auto cal on this JVC projector. Everything we're going to do today is manually. In fact, I'm not even 100% sure if the RS600 was an auto cal projector. I don't think it was, but we're going to do everything manually everywhere anyway. Another question comes in from Steve. Have you ever done calibrations facing the projector using a screen offset? Steve, I've actually never done that before. I've heard of other guys doing that. I've never done that before. Every situation I've ever been in, the projector and the screen were both installed already, and they were both in the same room, and everything was good to go. I have heard of other calibrators doing that, though, in the past. If you have a specific question on that at all, I'll address it as best as I can, but feel free to type it into the question box there. Okay, great. So the first thing we're going to do here, after we get all the gear set up, which we've already done, let me go back to the beginning of the workflow. And we're going to take a look at the pre-calibration view. Now, in this one, I don't remember specifically off the top of my head what mode it comes in from the factory. I think I have this one in either standard or natural right now. Let me take a look at this really quick. Actually, the picture mode's already in the ISF mode, so let's change this to something like standard or natural, and we'll get a good idea of kind of where this thing is at as far as the factory settings are concerned. One thing I'm noticing about this projector is flipping through picture modes, you're hearing kind of some clicks and things as that happens. You may not hear it on the camera or on the microphone here today, but you can hear things like the filters dropping in for P3 color and wide color and things like that. So on a projector like this, you will notice sometimes that the switch between picture modes sometimes takes a little longer. It's in user 4 now. Let's keep going through. Let's see what we got. I think it's got 6 users. There's user 5. This is probably user 6. And let's get back to either standard or natural, whatever the ISF day, ISF night. You may have heard a big click right there. That is film. And what else we got here? Cinema. And we should be getting pretty close here to natural. Animation. One thing about the JVCs, guys, is they give you tons and tons of presets for picture modes. So you can do all kinds of cool stuff with these. Okay, there's natural. So let me get rid of the menu here, and let's do a pre-calibration view to see how far off it is in natural mode. While I'm doing that, let's check the question box. Yep, Chris, that's the filter. Good call. What gamma do you calibrate to? Christian, that's a great question. This room is not, like I said, is not pitch black. I do have some windows with some blackout curtains, and I do not have the walls really the right color for a room with a projector. The walls are still white, and I'm kind of stuck with that just because this house is a rental. I can't really paint and things like that. I have thought about doing maybe some black cloth behind the screen like I did in the bedroom, but considering the room isn't pitch black and the walls are white, even though the room's fairly dark, I'm gonna probably go with a 2.2 gamma on this one. If the room was pitch black and I had dark walls and no windows at all, or maybe it's nighttime only and there's, I can't see my hand in front of my face, that kind of situation, then I'd probably stick with something like a 2.4. Now, I'm also a bit closer to the screen as well. I only sit about 6 or 8 feet away, so I can probably get away with a 2.4 easily with a dark room. But again, with a little bit of ambient light and white walls, I'm probably going to stick with the 2.2. Chris just chimed in. He says, you still need to check the rest of the settings. The projector could have the auto iris on. You should also check the HDMI range setting. Checking the initial setting of the projector is critical to getting the right results. Otherwise, your measurements are all compromised. Yep, absolutely great call, Chris. We'll go through the menu here. I'll make sure the iris settings are good, the eco settings are turned off, and those types of things before we start making any actual measurements. This is just like maybe how you find it from the factory, if you will, in the natural picture mode. And if we take a look at it, the grayscale is quite a bit off. This is not a big surprise here. I did notice that the preset for the natural mode was 6500K, but you guys know that 6500K doesn't always mean 6500K. So it looks like we're lacking some red here. Blue's a little hot. So we'll get this dialed in with the 2-point white balance adjustment. The gamma is actually tracking fairly well, not bad. We'll find out what the exact number is here in the next few pages. And the color gamut is actually not that bad. This is SDR, Rec 709. So we can see the grayscale is a little towards cyan. The secondary colors are a little off on hue. Red's off a little on hue. Green's a little oversaturated. Blue's a little out, but not bad. There are some pretty big luminance errors here in the natural mode. So again, based on if this guy has CMS or not, or if we can use that JVC software to adjust the CMS, we may be able to fix this down here as well. So for being, factory natural mode, if in fact that is the out-of-the-box mode on these projectors, again, I don't remember, this model's 3 or 4 years old. This isn't terrible, but it definitely could use some help. Vance says, let's see. How do you make a black extreme and dynamic on a white projector screen? That's the hard part, man. That's the hard part, is to get good blacks out of a projector. You'll see some companies like JVC who go out of their way to make their blacks as good as they can, but that's really the hard part. Looking at like a really good LCD or an OLED next to the projector obviously has a way bigger picture. But absolutely, man, the blacks are something that we'll have to address here. Good question. Chris had mentioned some targets. Yeah, let's take a look at some of the targets real quick so you guys can see what I'm actually aiming for when we do the calibration here for SDR. So let me kill that, and then we'll take a look at this settings wheel inside CalMan. The color space, I've got D65 Rec 709, and for the gamma, I'm going to be aiming for 2.2. These happen to be the default settings in CalMan, so I don't really need to change anything here. If I was going to go for a different gamma setting, I could change that here, or I could change it to 1886 in here, or I could change it to maybe 2.0 or 2.4 or 2.3, whatever I want. I can change that manually. But the white point target is going to be D65, and the color space target is going to be Rec 709. And I think that should be all the questions for now. Great. Okay. So I'm going to flip through some of the picture modes here. And there was a mode in here that was already unlocked and labeled ISF. So let's find that, and let's see how close that is to our actual targets. There's a THX mode. There's an ISF mode right there. Okay, so let's take a look at the ISF mode and see how close we are. We'll do a quick read series here. Couple of buttons that I'm going to push down here, guys. This one with the little brackets around, it's a read series. That's going to take multiple readings for me, kind of give us an idea of where the projector's at. There's also a play button that you can take one reading one time, which not very appropriate to use on this page, but other pages you can use it lots and lots. And there's also a continuous read button over here that we'll use when we maybe check the lamp modes and things like that. Another question comes in, don't you check the color and tint settings of the projector? Absolutely. there is a specific page here in CalMan for color and tint, and we'll go ahead and look at that together when the page comes up. So good question. So the color temp in the ISF mode is labeled 6500K, but it's actually more like 7700. So again, probably a little cyan or a little blue. Luckily, that's going to be fixable, no problem. Now the gamma point with whatever the preset is for this ISF mode is 2.0. I want to be a little closer to a 2.2. So let's go through the gamma settings on this projector and see if there's any other modes for gamma that might get me something a little better. Now, one thing about gamma that I'll always recommend to people, it's always a good idea to pull up a grayscale pattern when you're looking at the gamma, especially if the gamma is not very clearly labeled. You know, maybe the gamma says 2.0, 2.2, 2.4, so you can just pick the appropriate one, measure it to be safe, of course. But you want to bring up a test pattern with a grayscale in it. That way, when I'm manually trying to figure out here which way I should be going, we'll take a look at how many gamma settings this projector has. And let's see, we've got normal, we've got A, B, C, D, custom 1, custom 2, custom 3, and then back to normal again. So a lot of presets here to work with. So I want to go through a few of these and see exactly what's doing what. So we're going to name this one normal. And then let's see what's next. We've got A through D, I believe. So let's see. A, B, C, and D. This is one of my favorite features of CalMan too, guys. The fact that I can open up multiple tabs here and rename them whatever I want. That way I can go through and I can read all 5 of these gamma settings, and then I can just flip through the, toggle through the tabs here and see exactly what's going on. So let's measure A. Let's see if it's any closer to 2.2. Nope. We lost the test pattern. Give me a second. Let's let that sync back up. At JVC, when you switch gamma, just like when you switch picture mode, sometimes it's a little slow to change. So here we go. Okay, that actually got worse. So we went from 2.0 to 1.9. That means the blacks are going to be washed out. So let's try B. Let's see if we're going in the right direction here. And again, I'm going to pull up a 16-step grayscale. And if I eyeball this, I don't know if the camera is catching it or not. I hope it is. But as I'm eyeballing this, I'm specifically looking at the dark end of the grayscale. So let's let the JVC get the pattern on the screen. And boom, there we go. Let's pop into the menu. Now I'm visually going to check the gamma on the dark end as I toggle through. And what I'm noticing here, it's not really doing anything in a logical sense. So normal to A, the dark side of the grayscale gets a little lighter, which makes sense. We just measured that and saw that for sure. When I go B and then to C, things get lighter and lighter. And then when I go to D, the dark end gets really dark. So sometimes you would expect this to go, it would be maybe at its darkest setting and just go lighter, 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 or maybe it's at a really light setting and goes darker, 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 darker. This one doesn't seem to follow anything like that, which is exactly why I like to recommend, and I do it myself, just measuring all of them just to see. Let's measure B. While we're waiting for the JVC, let's check the Hartman asks, why am I not using 2.4? Hartman, great question. I do have some ambient light in the room and the walls are white. Chris says to make sure that the dynamic iris is off. We will get there in just a moment. Let me take some measurements here and we'll go through the menu and double check that. So 1.7, yeah, so things are getting lighter and lighter. Let's go here into the menu. And let's check that for Chris, the dynamic contrast. So I've got input level, color space, aspect. There's a masking feature, stuff for 3D, positioning, and then an EDID switch. I've got lens control, which is going to give me focus and zoom and color shift. pixel adjust, installation style, keystone, anamorphic, high altitude mode, screen adjust. I've got a back color, which is just the no signal color. The screen lights up blue. Menu position, I've got it lower left. Signal display, logo language. So nothing there for dynamic contrast, not yet. And then we've got the lamp reset, the remote code, eco mode's already turned off. And finally is the information menu, which doesn't have any adjustments in there at all. It just tells us what's going on in software versions and firmware versions. So Chris, perhaps on this one, there may be no dynamic iris control on here. Chris has something that he could probably help us with here. So Chris, let me open up the control box here, and I might be able to unmute your mic, and maybe we can just chit chat. Give me a second. And give me just a moment. Long list here. Chris. Okay, Chris, I'm going to unmute you, and you might be able to talk now. Want to give it a shot? Nothing from Chris. Okay. Oh, there we go. Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Hey, Chris, yeah, we can hear you great. What you thinking, man? Am I in a wrong menu maybe, or?
A couple things I could tell you that would probably help you out with some stuff that I've seen so far. So go to where it says color profile.
Yes.
And what you were doing before is you were just kind of cycling by pushing, right and left, and it takes a long time for each thing. So hit the OK button on your JVC.
Yep.
Yeah, don't cycle. Just push the OK button instead.
Okay. Boom. And okay. Ah, there's the CMS.
Now hit it one more time.
Perfect.
And this works with any of the gamma or anything. Then it gives you all the choices, so you're not sitting there going and stepping through each one.
Okay, good. Good.
Okay. Go ahead and go back to the menu you were at before.
Mm-hmm.
And then go to the where it says picture mode and hit OK, where it says ISF.
Yep.
That takes you into another menu.
Ah, there it is. Okay, cool.
So in this case, the lens aperture is in manual, so you weren't in any kind of dynamic mode.
Right.
And you're in low lamp mode right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine. The other thing that I saw from your stuff in the second tab at the top, so if you exit all the way back out to the main tabs up there next to picture adjust.
Yep.
So go one over.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so your input level is super white. So
right.
This is the kind of a thing where I diverge from the ISF on. So if you hit OK there, you'll see a couple different options.
Right.
So auto just picks based on what the input signal is.
Right.
And then I can barely make yours out. What's the next one underneath that?
It's auto, standard, enhanced, and then super white.
Okay, so standard is legal video range. That means black at digital 16 and white at digital 235. But
Perfect.
They're not preserving anything over white.
Okay.
So this is where I kind of diverge from the ISF and THX, where when it comes to projectors, with projectors, unlike flat panels, you don't have contrast and light to waste.
Right.
So anything over 235 is technically not supposed to be there in the first place. That's an over range, thing.
Sure.
So with projectors, I would recommend that you use standard versus super white, because anything that's going to be clipped would have been clipped in a legal video range anyway.
Okay, cool.
Enhanced is for PC signals only. That'll show you 0 to 255 with black map to 0 and white map to 255.
Right.
And then super white still maps black to 16 and still maps white to 235, but will show you the headroom above legal white.
Okay, good. And we'll see that too when we can show the folks too when we look at like a contrast pattern here in the next couple pages.
Correct.
Awesome,
So
good. And
the big thing I wanted to make sure you didn't have is the dynamic iris, because if you're already measuring gamma points and it's modulating the picture dynamically,
right.
that's not a real measurement. So.
Yeah, it's almost like on a flat panel. If you leave like the eco sensor on or something and try to read gamma, it's all messed up.
Correct.
Yeah, cool. Right. Good guys, and thank you for those tips. Like I said, this is I don't have a ton of experience with this projector, and I don't have a remote either. So, but thank you guys for those tips. Pushing OK on some of these settings does definitely allow you to adjust more things. I was wondering where the CMS was, and whoever mentioned that before, to push OK on that that other menu for the color space. I think it was a color space. So thank you guys for that. That's a good good tip.
Almost every one of them, if you hit enter on, you'll see either another menu where there's more there, or it'll give you every option, so you don't have to sit there and click down, click over, and thumb through them. You can see exactly what it is and go to one directly without having to switch through all of them.
Perfect. Awesome. 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 All right. So let's go back here. We're going to leave this at standard. Like I said, we can see some of these things when we take a look at the contrast test patterns here in the next few slides, or the next few pages rather. Okay, so let's move on with the gamma, and let's change it over to C. And it looks like things got even lighter. So I have a feeling this is going to be possibly even worse than B. B was like a 1.7. Let's try C. Let the JVC sync up, and still around 1.7. D, visually, D looked pretty good, if you're comparing all of them at least. So let's try D. Again, let's let the JVC sync up. And 1.9. So my eyes were deceiving me. I thought it was a little darker. It definitely was darker than B and C, but not as dark as normal, it looks like. Let's take a look here. Let's see if there's even some more in here. Chris asks, oh no, that's, yeah, Chris, which is 64 to 1020 and 10-bit. Yeah, it's 60 and 10-bit, Chris, it's 64 to 960, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check that for you. Don says Gamma D is for HDR only and actually does a poor job. Yep, Don, great call. Maybe we'll try that with HDR later if we have some time, but D is not going to work for us here in SDR at all. Let me see if I missed any. I think I saw some custom in there, custom settings in there as well. We got custom 1. Let me pull up a grayscale here. All right, let's see. There's custom 1. There's custom 2, which looks the same. And these are probably just all defaulted the same, I'm willing to guess. They look like it at least. There's also some adjustments down here. It looks like you maybe make your own custom curves. So there's picture tone, dark level, bright level. Picture tone might be the middle, dark might be should be the dark, and bright should be the bright. If we push these buttons here, does anything happen? So let's see. Yep, so things are definitely happening there. So these adjustments are making a difference. So we might be able to do a custom gamma curve here. Yep, the dark adjustment makes the dark end lighter or darker. And the bright level adjustment makes bright level a little bit brighter, almost clips actually at the very top there. So you might be able to do some custom stuff here. So let's measure it in custom, but with the default settings. I'll go back to default here. And we'll go back. And so now we're in custom 1 for the gamma. Let's measure it and see if it's bad. All right, let's give this a second to sync. And let's take a read. 1.9, so close to 2.0. In fact, it's close to normal. So let's take a look at the gamma on the gamma page, and we'll see exactly where it's a little too bright. And it looks like it's probably going to get a little brighter as we get a little darker. So we'll double check that on the other page when we have more more points we can see. Chris, yeah, go ahead, man. If you have something to add there, sure. I might have to unmute you, or maybe you can unmute yourself. Let me know.
I can unmute myself.
Oh,
so
perfect.
go back to your custom one, just so you understand what that menu actually means. I think
Sure.
there's so go back to custom. So custom is the same as any of the other ones. So when you selected custom, you see how at the top there's just normal A, B, C, D,
Right.
and then custom. So you look right, so just leave it in custom and go out of that menu.
Right.
So just hit okay. So see underneath where it says correction value. Oh no, go back in. See it says normal. So you're just exactly the same as normal. So now click that.
Got it.
Now in custom, you can select any gamma that you want from like 2 points. I don't remember what it is, 1.8 all the way to 2.6, I think, or something like that. And normal and A, B, C, D, or you can import a gamma, which means that you're using JVC's factory software where you can actually create custom gammas. So in this case, you measuring normal will look exactly the same as normal in the other menu. This just gives you that ability. And if you go underneath that where it says color, so right now it's white, hit enter.
Right.
So in here you can adjust white or red, green, and blue, since white is made from red, green, and blue. And then picture tone is the basically pretty much everything from about, it's like taking if you were adjusting white, it's adjusting red, green, and blue at the same time, or you're adjusting red, green, and blue separately if you click the other ones. Picture tone is pretty much everything between about 10% and like 90%.
Oh wow.
Dark level is just the very, very bottom, like less than 10%, and bright level is basically just above 90%. So more often than not, you're not going to really mess with those unless dark level is good if you're trying to do like an 1886 gamma.
I wonder if it's like if the JVC software is like the Sony software, to where you can do like a 10-point gamma, or like a 60.
In their factory software allows that. And just another thing, just because again, that what you're looking at right there is not the factory software, it's the other
that's
one.
not.
Yeah, that's just the ISF spreadsheet. They have an actual calibration program that you can download from their website. Now, one other thing just to interject here, because again, I realize you have limited experience with the JVCs, is that because the DILA patterns, and I'm sure you've seen this with SXRD projectors as well, it is an organic panel. It's an analog panel. It goes through basically a shift with time, and this shift typically happens somewhere between about 100 and 200 hours. And what happens is the factory gamma goes really wonky, and that's why you're seeing such a big, like if you were to pick 6500 or a certain gamma, you'll see it more with gamma than you will with grayscale. You'll see a big divergence in it. And what you'll find is, as you get more experience with these, is that you will have to use the JVC software to basically redo the factory calibration that's already loaded into the projector. And what it does is it is a calibration software, and they call it the auto calibration software, but it doesn't actually, you can't just press it and like, oh, it's all good. But what it does do is it restores the projector to a much better baseline calibration before you would start doing anything in these menus. And so you'll measure the gamma and you'll see this big hump, or when you measure the multi-point grayscale in CalMan, you'll see this big hump in the center because of it. And the only way to fix that, because as you can see right there, there's really limited amount of adjustment that you can do. You have a 2-point grayscale, you won't be able to basically fix the center because you're moving the noodle from the top to the bottom. So that software is something that you'll have to learn if you want to start using the JVC stuff for doing JVC calibrations, because it's really the only way to fix it.
Do they does that software work
results with it, but you'll that's still a step that would basically be built into this kind of calibration.
Is that software cover all models from these like 2016s and 17s all the way through the new ones, or do you know if it's?
Yeah, they have. So So yes, the software has been around since the very beginning, and what you have to do is go to the JVC webpage, and then it tells you when you go in, there's a to any model number under support, like where the firmware and stuff is.
Mhm.
You'll see it'll say JVC calibration software for models XXXXX. So like in the model you're using right now, the RS600, it'll say it's for the RS600, 400, 500, and then the X versions. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. So because it applies to everything that happened in that model year. And
Gotcha.
then the next model year, there might be a different software. And then the next model year, there'll be a different software. But they have consistently always released that software.
Okay.
And there is a learning curve to that software, and there's ways to do it and stuff like that. But I'm just letting you know, like that might be something you have a class one day on, like more of the advanced part of doing this. But once you learn it, it's not that hard, and you know what I mean. I do JVC calibrations all the time,
right.
but there is to it, and you'll find out that you're going to be limited on what you can do here because that wasn't done beforehand.
Okay. Okay. Good. All good. Good. Like I said, man, we've got plenty of time at this point. I know we're scheduling some webinars out for like 2 more weeks from now, even. So, like I said, if we as we learn more and get some more experience with this one, we could always do a follow up or just do like a round 2, and maybe we can make it super, super tight. I'd love to do that. But thanks again. Thanks again. Yeah, Chris says, would it be cool if Calman could just integrate the JVC AutoCal for? Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Good, good, good. Okay, cool. So let's measure that. Now that we have the 2.2 setting, let's measure it. That's in custom 1. And it's still like a 1.9, right? And like I said, we'll take a look at the gamma on the gamma page in the next couple pages, and we'll see exactly where it might be dipping at. Okay, cool. So white point and color space. We know that the 6500K white point on this projector is fairly close. It is a little cyan, so it should be pretty easy to touch up. And with our color space that we have chosen now, take a reading here. And it looks like we're in the same color space as mapping like natural did at the very beginning. So it's probably in that standard color space. Okay, let's see if there's another question. Scott says he'd like to see a walkthrough on the JVC AutoCal soon. Scott, same here. Just got to get a hold of one of the projectors. That's the key. Is I've got the screen here now. I can take the screen up and down as much as I need to. If I can get JVC to send me a new one, maybe for a couple weeks or something, that'd be sweet, because I'd love to see it myself. Good call. Okay, disable auto features. So we've gone through the menu. We can maybe go through one more time to be safe, but the dynamic iris is turned off. The eco mode was turned off. I've got all the motion settings turned off. Let's just go through one last time here and double check. So the color profile is, let's actually reset that. Oops. Okay, so the color profile standard. The color temp, 6500K. We've got the gamma. MPC level, let's go ahead and make sure all this is turned off. The 4K E shift, unless somebody has any objections to this, I think we can leave that on to do the calibration. I don't see why not. Let's see here. What else do we got? Original resolution is auto. That's fine. Blur reduction and things like that. That's off, off, off. Great. And then we just have contrast, brightness, color, tint. So let's go back up here and just go through the rest of them. Like I said, I'm pretty sure all this stuff is already turned off, but we'll double check. Input level standard, thanks to Chris's tip. Color space is auto, that's fine. Aspect is 16:9, HDMI EDIT, okay, that's all good. Pixel adjust, installation style, anamorphic's off, high altitude's off, screen adjust is off. And nothing there that we need to worry about. And the eco mode in here is turned off, so that's all good. And then back to the information screen. Okay, great. So we're good here. All the eco stuff and all the stuff is turned off. Christian says if you choose custom profile, you should get CMS. Thank you, Christian. When we get to that page, I'll make sure to hit custom. Thank you. Okay, Luminance. Let's see how bright it is at the moment. So about 40 foot lambert. Which, for a projector and SDR, it's pretty darn good. We could always maybe turn the lamp on a different mode, and might be able to get some different numbers here. So let me stop this. That clicking will get annoying to you guys. Let's see something here real quick. The lamp power is set to low. If we go to high, there's only two settings, high and low. So if we go high, we are 39 foot Lamberts to 53. Big jump, nice improvement. A lot of times when I see a big jump like this, I always have in the back of my head that it maybe caused the projector to not be linear anymore. So in other words, you know, the grayscale might be nice and flat. If you turn the high mode on, all of a sudden the grayscale falls apart. We can test this on the grayscale page, whether the lamp mode low versus high makes any change in color. It should only change in luminance, of course. But what we want to avoid is if the lamp mode changes color. We do see this sometimes, so we'll check that when we get to that page. But for now, if I kick it into the high mode, that's 53 foot Lamberts. That's pretty bright, pretty sweet. Chris says, high lamp power is too high for your screen size for 709. Maybe, we'll see. We'll know this when we start looking at maybe some of the CMS. If some of the colors are way too bright or maybe undersaturated, then we might certainly go with a low. That's a good call. We shall see, though. All right, let's see what's next. Next will be brightness and contrast. These guys are very easy to do, very straightforward. This is kind of calibration 101 is getting the brightness and contrast correct. So as I click the brightness button, let's look for the JVC to sync up. And boom, there we go. Okay, now the brightness setting from the factory is 0 right here. Now I'm sitting a little further back than I would. I'm actually sitting behind the couch, so I'm about 2 or 3 feet back from where I normally would be. But if I were sitting here, as I bring up the brightness control, well, I have to bring it up quite a bit to see 17, both in the upper left and in the middle. I don't see 17 from this seating position until right about 6 or 7 on the brightness control. And of course, guys, that might change. If this room was pitch black and I was doing this at 11 p.m. instead of 4 p.m., you know, it's nice and dark outside. I won't have any of this ambient light in here, and I might actually be able to bring the brightness down to maybe like +1, +2, +3, or +4. But in this room, at this seating position with this lighting, 6 seems to be the winner. Now, the good part is here, guys, what I'm noticing just with my eyes, as I turn the brightness up to see number 17, the background did not get gray. The background actually stayed pretty black, so that's good. A lot of times on a lot of flat panels especially, and even some projectors, when you turn the black level up to see that 17 box, the background gets lighter as well. So in case of like an OLED, if you turn the brightness up too high, you've ruined the black levels of the TV, and that was kind of the whole point. But in this case, this was actually pretty cool. I was able to bring the brightness up 6 clicks without making the background dark gray or light gray, and now I can see 17 no problem. That's an easy one. Let's move over to the contrast. This is kind of to be expected based on what Chris told us before, and this totally makes sense. If you take a look at the contrast now, everything is blown out. Let's lower it a little bit, and we can hopefully see at least box 235 there dead center. So I'm lowering the contrast, lowering the contrast, lowering the contrast. And I'm starting to see some boxes on the bottom row. Actually, where do those really start to pop in? Okay, so at contrast at -1, -2 or so, I can see up to box 232. I bring it down to -3, I can see box 233. And I bring it down to -5, -6. This is not going to show up on this camera. I'm sorry, guys, just because this camera is not very good with really bright stuff like this. But right about -6, I can see box 234 next to 235, and all is well. Now, just to show you what Chris was talking about, let me check the question box really quick. Yep, Chris, 235 should be clipped. You should see 234. You're exactly right, because we have it in the standard dynamic range. And just to show you guys what would happen if we put it like in super white. And I totally agree with Chris on this. In a projection system like this, you're fighting for light constantly. So if that means sacrificing that top row of boxes or anything over 235, it's not the end of the world. So let's pop in here. We got standard. There's Cinema 1.
No. Okay,
Oh.
Jason.
Go ahead.
It's not a color profile. Go back to standard, and
Yep.
then it's the second top menu.
Ah, thanks. I had a feeling I was probably in the wrong menu. Thank you for that. There it is, input level. That's what they call it, input level. Okay, now if we go enhanced and push OK, you start to see more boxes, right? You push OK again, we go to super white, push OK, we can still see boxes. Now, did that cost us light? Let's see. Let the JVC sync up, get a test power on screen, and any second now, we're 40, right? So we lost 13 foot Lamberts or so. So here's the question. You sacrifice that light output to see some more boxes that might not be in the content anyway, or you sacrifice box 235 and up to get a little more light. You know, it's kind of a judgment call to make on site. In a case like this, where my walls are white and stuff, I might go for a little bit brighter picture, you know? So we'll stick with that. We'll stick with standard for now. Let's bring this back up. Contrast. And let the JVC sync up. And we've got a bunch of boxes here. And change this back to standard. And thank you, whoever told me that tip to pressing OK. That is so much easier. Okay, great. All right. Now it should clip, if we run the clip test, it should clip right at 100. So let's see. Remember, it's clipping everything over 230 at 235 anyway. Let's just double check. And boom, there it is. It's clipped right at 100. That's to be expected. Chris says in commercial cinema, it's 14 foot Lamberts for SDR and 32 for Dolby Vision. I don't recall off the top of my head the Dolby Vision number, but commercial, yeah, you're 14. So we're a little bit brighter here than a commercial theater, but again, it's not a pitch black room. It's a much smaller screen. You know, 14 foot Lamberts on a 70 foot screen, you know, it's bright enough for sure. 14 foot Lamberts on an 85-inch screen, maybe not. And it goes the other way too. You know, the bigger the screen, it doesn't have to be as bright to be as impactful, if that makes any sense. If we did 50 foot Lamberts on a 50 foot screen, it would probably hurt to watch. But good call. Yep, you're right. At least on SDR, it's 14 foot Lamberts. That's exactly right. Okay, now here's one of the big questions I had was the gamma. And we had it set to custom, and it was averaging at about 2.0 with reading only 2 samples. Now we'll read the gamma across the entire grayscale and see exactly what's going on here. So it looks like it's hovering around 1.9 throughout most of the grayscale, and then it dips up to about 2.2 or 2.0 at the end. So on the early gamma page, when we were just picking a mode in CalMan, it only takes, oops, here we go. It only takes 2 samples, 60 and 100, and just averages them together. This only gives you sort of a rough idea of what's going on. This page for gamma is much better because, actually this page, or this page really, we'll get to see the same data in both pages. Now we can see the grayscale, we can see the gamma across the entire grayscale. We might be able to fix it. Let's see. Christian says change the gamma to 2.4. I think you're onto something. I see this a lot in a lot of different displays. You'll have it set to 2.2. It won't be anywhere close to 2.2. You might set it to 2.4, and it's actually a 2.2. I've seen one recently that I was going for a 2.4. I had to turn it to 2.6. So great tip there. Let's give that a shot and see what happens. So we're going to change the gamma here. Instead of custom, we're going to push OK. We're going to go to 2.4 here. And oopsie. And, okay, cool. All right, let's take a look again. This was custom 1. And this page, 2.4. And let me check the question box. Something came up. Chris says, yep, I'm in high lamp mode. This is a good observation because we might have some different gamma values here based on the lamp setting. So we'll take a look at that actually. Good call. Okay, it looks like 2.4 is tracking a little closer to maybe 2.0, 2.1. If we change the lamp to low, so this next tab will be lamp low gamma 2.4. That's a good call. Let's check it. So we're going to change the lamp over. And where was that if I remember? No, it wasn't here. Oops. Anybody remember where the lamp setting was? Thank you. Who's that? Oh, Chris. Chris has to go. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for hanging out for a few minutes. And yeah, thanks a lot for those tips, man. It's very helpful.
Lamp setting is in the picture mode.
Oh, thank you. I knew somebody would know where it was.
Just click where it says ISF right there.
Right there. Perfect. Bam, there it is. Thank you so much. 2 or 3 menus deep, but no big deal. Okay, let's change the lamp to low and see if the gamma tracks a little better. Let's take a look at the 2 now. Yeah, they're close. The low lamp got a little closer to the target, at least in the mid-range. But yeah, they're pretty close to each other. Much better than this, though. But at least it's fairly linear. You know, it's pretty flat and pretty straight for the most part. I wish it was a little higher, but maybe we can fix that. Actually, maybe we might be better off with a preset here. Maybe we go 2.6. Might as well just beat it up at this point. Let's see. This is going to be 2.6 lamp low. Oh, look at that. Let's see if we get that same result and get brighter if we go 2.6 lamp high. Oops. Maybe. Oh, that wasn't high. Let's see how it looks in low. Just so we can know. I can also too here, guys, like when the lamp goes into high mode, my head is 6 inches from the projector. It gets much louder, as you probably would expect. That's okay. Check the question box. Yep, Christian, he says try 2.6. Great call. I just did it. Perfect. So here we go, guys. This looks pretty good. It's like maybe like a 2.25 or maybe 2.3 or somewhere right around there. That's pretty good. Again, it's nice and flat, and Not really any two major problems here. Okay, cool. All right, so let's move on from here. Actually, I do want to get a little more light. So let's put it back in high. Why not? Okay. Okay, color decoder. This is going to be color and tint. There's a few different patterns you can use here. Obviously, the color bars. I don't believe the JVC has a blue only mode. I don't remember seeing it anywhere in the menu at all. But there's other things we can do, and this really shouldn't be more than an really easy adjustment anyway, because since we do have CMS, we'll make most of our color corrections in there. But again, there's, as far as I know, no blue only mode. If anybody knows where there's one, maybe there's one hidden, let me know. Presuming there's no blue only mode, we're going to take a look at a test pattern with some skin tones and just eyeball it here and see how it looks. And then we'll do the really fine color tuning when we do the white balance. I'm sorry, when we do the color management, kind of towards the end. Let's let my JVC sync up, and let's take a look at these skin tones. Wow, and they actually look pretty good. Nobody looks orange or sunburned. Nobody looks sick either. I can see all the wrinkles in the middle girl's red dress all the way down by her wrist. That's a good indicator right there if the color's too high, if you can't see those wrinkles. But honestly, guys, these look pretty darn good for the factory settings. So I'm going to leave those alone. So let's move on. Now we come to the sharpness or resolution. We pull up the ISF sharpness pattern or ISF geometry pattern. We should be fitting the screen just fine. Again, this is a 235 screen. So, you know, we're only seeing it in 16:9 right now. This is a 16:9 pattern. I also have the 235 lens memory saved at the moment. So if we looked at the ISF geometry in widescreen, and if I go to my menu, I can go to the lamp control. Oops. Lens control rather, okay. And I'm gonna pick my preset down here. Lens memory select. I'm gonna change it to 235. You guys will see some movement here. And we should see the entire test pattern on the screen. I'll finish out the calibration back in 16:9, but I just wanted to show you guys the lens memory on this projector is really cool. So as soon as I pop in a movie that's 235 or 240, it's got bars on the top and bottom. I can change my lens memory over to 235. There's many other slots in there, so maybe you have some movies in your collection that are, you know, a really wide aspect ratio or anything other than the couple of standard ones. You can certainly adjust this and do lens memory. There's multiple slots to do that, which is kind of cool. So I had a 235 movie on before I started the webinar, and you know, sure enough, fits the screen correctly. No black bars on the top and bottom, and it looks like it does in the cinema, which, you know, for being at home is really cool. I like that. I really would like to see. I don't know if anyone's ever done this before or seen this before. Maybe it doesn't exist, but I'd love to see a 235 flat panel. That'd be really cool. 21:9 flat panel. Maybe it's out there. Who knows? The other thing that I like to check in this test pattern is also the sharpness. I like to look at the little lines that are the pixels are counting from left to right and from top to bottom. Those little lines that you see, those little hash marks, I like to call them, those do represent pixels. And the idea is that those lines are free of any distortion. And looking at it from here, even if I look really close, the sharpness is already at the correct position for this picture mode because I don't see any distortion. And also at the same time, those lines don't look out of focus or too soft or too fuzzy. So for color and tint and for sharpness, I'm going to leave those at the factory default settings. Those seem to be pretty good. All right, now let me flip it back to 16:9. Go lens control, okay. Lens memory select, okay. And I'm going to flip it back to my 16:9. Comment comes in, would it not be best to test sharpness with the E shift disabled? Yep, great call. I actually tested this before the webinar started. Again, this camera I'm using doesn't resolve very well unless I'm right up on the screen. But it actually didn't make a very big difference, to be honest with you, with the E-shift off or on. The sharpness was about the same either way. So I just gonna leave it alone at factory. Okay, now we're gonna do a 2-point white balance. I'm gonna start off with 80 and 30 as my 2 anchor points, and we'll do the 80 side first. Now, if 80 and 30, if those don't work out, I'm not really gonna know on this page. I'm not gonna know till the next page. So we'll calibrate 80 and 30. But that doesn't always mean that's going to be the ones that you go with all the time. You might do 60 and 40, 75 and 25. You might find a magic combination of 2 levels where the projector or the TV calibrates really easily. We'll start off with 80 and 30. Those are just kind of midpoints when you look at the top end and the bottom end of the grayscale. We're going to do the top side first, or the bright side first, at 80 IRE. That's what's on the screen right now. Let me find my white balance menu. We got color temp. We're gonna go OK. We're already set to 6500 as the preset. Now we just have to go down here and find our actual values. So let's run the meter, continuous. And it looks like if you look at the RGB balance graph, that's where my eyes tend to go first. We're severely lacking some red here. So I've got the red gain chosen on the projector, and the way that they have their values set up, kind of like Sony flat panels and some Sony projectors, the gain controls, as you can maybe see in the camera right now, gain red, gain green, and gain blue are already maxed out. So the value shows 0, but the position of the control. So I'm not going to be able to add red here. But what I can do is lower green and blue, and hopefully red, green, and blue will be able to do that. So take a look at. I'll start with green, or I'll start with blue first. Actually, if I press OK, that moves to the bottom of the screen, so it's not in the way. And I'm just going to slowly start removing blue until we get somewhat level with the red. You'll see the dot right here is going to be straight north. So hopefully the idea is I can bring green down and shoot straight up. That's the hope. I'm going to change the gain blue to gain green, and I'm going to lower green, and green going to drop straight down. Okay, now green and red are even. I'm going to change that to blue gain. And we're going to raise the blue gain a little bit. We just took a bunch out. We're going to add some back in. And boom. These are even, dead center, 313329, 80 is perfect. Stop the meter, go to 30, and we'll do the same thing. Continuous reads. And 30 is not that far off, not as bad as 80 was. In a lot of cases, what's probably happening here, the grayscale controls for the bright side of the grayscale do in a lot of cases tend to affect the dark side of grayscale. So you're adjusting the gains, but that's also affecting the dark end as well. You go to adjust the offset controls, and that's only the dark side. And that maybe is what happened here. You'll see in a lot of cases, you'll do just the top end of the grayscale, and then the bottom end of the grayscale is already pretty close. Sometimes bang on. I see that on some Sony flat panels, actually. So we're going to take the red offset, and lower that just a little bit. Bring it down just a smidge more. Then we're going to just lower that green control just a little bit. And boom, 313328 on the dark end. The bright side is 311327. It did change slightly. Let's change this back to gain blue. Press OK. And just a couple of clicks of problem. 1, 2, 3. 313329. Let's check the dark end one more time. 314330. It's very close, but this is a positive green error, which I don't like. So let's change the offset. Let's change it to offset blue. Maybe add a click of blue into the offset. And we're 313329. One click of blue fixed it. So we're 313329 on the dark end. 312329 on the bright end. That's fantastic. Now that's just the 2-point, right? We only know what 80 and 30 look like. We don't know the rest of the grayscale. So this next page will show us the entire grayscale in one snapshot. pretty linear. That's pretty good. Wow, that's great, actually. So you got a little bit of a deviation here, not much. We're 316330 at 100 on the very, very, very top end. So it's a little yellow, which probably would want to take a minute or two to fix that. But gosh, 90 through 30 are fantastic. 20 is 315, but it's still within tolerance. 10 is 313321. So 10 is just like a little magenta, but not bad. What I like to do here too, guys, is, the data all looks pretty good, but I also like to get a visual on it as well. So if I bring up a 16-step grayscale, I shouldn't see any strange colors in the grays and the whites and the blacks. It should all look neutral. If the blacks look kind of green or the bright side looks kind of yellow, then we know that these errors are no good. But I'm actually looking at the grayscale visually, and I'm not seeing any visible errors, which is good. This might indicate at the very, very, very top end that there's a little bit of green, but there's two things to consider here. It's the brightest level, and it's only green by 0.001. I'm not seeing it. If you tend to be a perfectionist and obsessed over the graphs, and you want to make it 329, that's fine. I would probably maybe just add a click of blue to the top end. So if we go color temp, okay, we'll go to green gain. Oh, sorry, gain blue. We'll pull up a 100 test pattern. And by maybe adding a click of blue, we might get rid of that 330, which would be pretty cool. But let's see. So let's add a click of blue into the top end. .330, 329, boom, 328 actually. So 2 clicks, easy fix. Now, since we've done that, let's make sure that those 2 clicks didn't wreck the rest of the grayscale. I doubt it, but let's just double check. You have to check. While I'm doing that, guys, give me just a moment. I'm gonna grab my water. I thought I had it right here. Oh, where'd it go? All right, sorry about that. I was wondering where my water went. Okay. Okay, great. So we're in tolerance, within tolerance, within tolerance. We're within tolerance on all the X values. That's great. And we're within tolerance on all of our Y values, which is awesome. There's a 321 down here. It's a little out of tolerance, but it just means it's lacking a little bit of green. So what the data is telling us is that level 10 should look kind of purple, but it's so close to being on target, or being within tolerance at least. I'm not seeing it in the 10 test pattern, and I'm also not seeing it in the grayscale on the dark end either. So if the data is telling you it's purple, but you're not seeing it, it comes to whether you're trying to get a perfect graph or a perfect picture, right? Sometimes you have to make those judgment calls, and you have to keep, I know a lot of calibrators, myself included, can be very OCD and be a perfectionist, but this is where you have to kind of keep that in check. If we had access to a 10-point white balance, we might be able to just go fix 10, right? And add a little bit of green to it, or maybe take away a little blue. Either way, I could fix it. But we've only got a 2-point here, so we're just doing our best with what we have. But like I said, to be within tolerance on Y, it would have to be somewhere between 325 and 329. We're at 321. So we're only talking a few thousandths that we're off. So all good there. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over that. Okay, now we're gonna go through the color management, and since we got a really good grayscale, we might, just by the nature of this, if you get a good grayscale, in most cases you'll have a pretty good color gamut. You might just have to touch it up a little bit. Let's let the JVC sync up, and we'll do a read series. Now in this graph over here for luminance, the graph is only scaled from 1 to -1. So some of these errors are like off the charts, right? So if you really want to see what's going on here, and you can do this on any of these charts, by the way, on any of the pages, you right click on the graph, click properties, change the axis to auto, and you'll see now the graph will scale based on the biggest error. So now instead of 1 to -1, we're seeing 20 to -20. So we basically have zoomed out on the graph, and now we have a much better idea of what the luminance errors are like. So where red is fairly close to the target here, it's at least touching the box. If we look over here, it's really bright. And you guys who've been through class before and have done lots of calibration work before, you already know that for the primary colors, it's really important to get the luminance right. So if I can't get the red dot into the box, that's not the end of the world. I would love to, of course, but what I really should concentrate on first, at least, is getting this red luminance error under control. Green's pretty close. Green is right at that 0 mark. Blue is a little dark. Now when we talk about the secondary colors, cyan, magenta, yellow, it's more important to get those in the box than it is to get the luminance correct. But luckily, if you look at magenta, I probably won't even have to touch magenta. Maybe the luminance is a little hot. The yellow is a little oversaturated, and the hue is a little green, but the luminance is pretty good. Cyan luminance is pretty good, and it's pretty darn close here too. So we'll touch some of these up and see how close we can get. I'm going to start with red just because that's the biggest error. You can start wherever you want, but I like to start with the biggest error. That's just me. And I'm looking down here at my delta errors, and they're already pretty low. They're already pretty good. They're not bad, but I think we can get them a little bit better. So if I lower the red luminance, let's see if that delta error, see if we get a significant drop there in the delta error. So let's pull up the menu, and we'll go to that color profile, which whoever gave me that tip before, thank you so much. I would have been looking for that for an hour probably. So the color management is now on. The color selection is red, and we're going to go to the brightness control. The brightness control in this case is going to be the luminance control. Let's take some readings, and red is too bright, so let's lower it. And as we lower it, watch that red bar drop right into place. And you'll notice the delta L graph. This graph measures the luminance error. So as we get to our correct value over here, the delta also zeroes out. The delta tells you how wrong it is. So if it's correct, then there's no delta error. If it's way off, then there's a big delta error, right? So this is at 0, this is at 0, red luminance is fixed. That was super easy. Now maybe, just maybe, we can get the dot in the hole. So right now, red's a little green. It's also a little undersaturated because it's on the inside of this box. So maybe I can push red down into the right a little bit, and maybe it drops right in. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to, it really doesn't matter which order you do this in. Once you get the luminance correct, you can do the saturation and then the hue, or the hue and then the saturation. You might bounce back and forth a couple times anyway, so not horribly important where you start here. I'll start with the saturation just to be just safe here. And I do anticipate in a lot of cases when you make saturation adjustments, it does sometimes put the luminance off as well. So we'll see what happens here. So I'm going to pump up the red saturation a little bit. Let's see if the dot moves closer to the target. Let's also watch the delta L graph for saturation. And I am clicking like crazy here, guys. I'm up to 30 on my adjustment and nothing moved. So this might be one of those cases where this particular control doesn't really do what it's supposed to. It doesn't really work right. But look what it did do. It did raise the luminance, but it didn't help us here at all. In that case, I'm just going to put this back to factory, and I'm not going to worry about it. If it does more damage than good, put it back to factory and leave it alone. And I always recommend putting it back to factory too, guys, because let's say one day there's a firmware update to this thing, and these controls all of a sudden work, and you left the saturation at +3. Now the reds are going to be way out, right? So if you're not going to use the control, I always make it a habit to put it back to factory. Delta E is not delta error. The E is German for something I've never been able to pronounce before. It is a German word. Yes, Chris, you're exactly right. Since I can't speak German, I don't know the word. I just call it delta error. So that's cool. No big deal there. We actually did have a German person in class. It was one of the California classes last year, and they were able to pronounce it perfectly, and it was pretty cool. Doesn't happen often though. We don't usually have somebody in class who can speak German. That's cool. So we know the luminance control works. We know the saturation control does not work. Maybe the hue control works, and maybe we can minimize this hue error. Maybe we can move the dot a little closer. Let's just see what happens when we push the buttons. So if I change the hue for red, it should either run towards green or towards blue. Now, whether I go left or right on the control, I don't really know what's going to happen. So I'm just going to push right. Let's see what happens. Now, if I push the right control, it's running towards green. So obviously that's the wrong direction. So now let's go left. And again, I'm watching this delta E graph right here. And it does get smaller as I move to the left, but look what it did to the saturation. So guys, check this out. Here is how I would think it would be in a perfect world. I would adjust the hue. So now red has a straight shot to the right, but I can't raise the saturation. I can raise the saturation, but it doesn't do anything. So here's the question I have to ask myself and the judgment call I have to make. Would I rather have red be the correct red, but that means red's undersaturated? Or am I willing to deal with red being a little green, but the saturation is correct? What would you guys do? Anybody have any thoughts? I know what I would do. I just want to see what you guys are thinking. Feel free to type anything into the question box. Me personally, I'd rather go with a more saturated red. That's something that you'll notice in a lot of different types of content. If the red's undersaturated, it's a very striking color to our eyes. If the red's undersaturated at all, it might look a little washed out and a little bad. So if I had to pick the lesser of two evils here, I would deal with the saturation being a little bit better and the hue being a little bit off. So if that's the case, then I'm going to change the red hue back to 0 because that was the factory position. And then let's take another measurement to be safe. Here I can push the play button. That's just going to take a reading. And it's kind of not really a whole heck of a lot you can do here without fighting it to death. And even if you fight it to death and sit here for half an hour, you might not really make any progress. So for the sake of time, I'm going to move on to another color. But the big thing here, guys, is that the red luminance has been fixed. The delta error dropped from like a 2.5 or 2.7 or something down to a 2.1. So we did make an improvement. So that's good. Let's take a look at green next. The luminance for green, it's a little bright, easy fix. It's a little oversaturated, and the hue is slightly off. It's a little to the left. This should be pretty fixable. Let's see what happens. So green being a primary color, I'm going to adjust the luminance first. There's green, and green is too bright. So let's run the meter and lower that a couple of clicks, and just 2 clicks, guys, made it too dark. 1 click also made it too dark. So at the factory position, it's a little bright. If I go down a click, it's a little dark. I'm going to stick with, if I had to pick between the two, I'm going to stick with a little bright. And it's a little closer anyway. No big deal. Now let's lower the saturation, see if we can get the green dot to drop in. We're going to lower the green saturation a little. 3 clicks, 4 clicks, 5 clicks, 7 clicks, and it drops down pretty good. Now notice how the dot now is in the upper left of this box. Now if I can adjust the hue for green and run it hopefully straight towards red, the dot will drop right into the center of the box. Let's try the hue control. Again, I don't know whether to go left or right. I'm just going to push the right button first. And that was completely wrong, guess. Now we're going to go left. And fingers crossed. Oh, look at that. That's fantastic. That looks really good. I might raise the saturation up a little bit. Maybe we can get that dot to be perfect in the middle. And boom, that looks good. So we got the dot in the hole, but look what it did to our luminance. Dropped it significantly because we dropped the saturation. So fingers crossed that I can raise the luminance and still be in the box. We're going to go to brightness control. 1 click, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, here we go. I raise the luminance. It desaturates the color. Maybe we can find a good compromise here. If I raise the saturation, so it's a little oversaturated, but still a little dark. Maybe I could raise the luminance. It'll get brighter and it'll naturally desaturate a little bit. And that seems to be doing the trick. So that's good. That worked out pretty well. So Guys, we're at a 0.4 delta error at this point. I'm not going to go any further. That's more than acceptable. Again, we want to be under 3, really, and under 1 is fantastic. So tiny, tiny luminance error, no saturation error, no hue error, dots in the luminance is good. Delta error under 1. I think we can move on to the next color. Let me check here. It looks like there might be a question. Chris, yep, he was just kind of reiterating what I said before. Luminance is most important, most critical for the primary colors. The hue or the X and Y. X and Y is technically hue and saturation. So I just say it like this. If it's a primary color, get the luminance right, then worry about everything else. If it's a secondary color, get the dot in the hole, then worry about the luminance. You kind of think of it like that, it works out pretty well. Good call though, yep, you're exactly right. Okay, let's move on to blue. It's undersaturated, it's a little red, and it's a little dark. So let's fix the luminance error first. Going to raise the luminance and desaturating. It's actually helping us a bit here. Ooh, that was too much. Get that luminance real close because I have a feeling if I play with the saturation, it's going to change it a bit. You know, this is really hard to see, guys, but the blue dot is right in the lower right corner of the box here. Our delta error is at 2.2. Might be able to do a little better here. Let's try to saturate blue a little more. And that is making things worse. So we're going to do that. Let's see if we can change the hue and get that dot to drop into the hole. Let's go to the right, the wrong way. Let's go to the left. And the hue error is fixed, but we're way undersaturated now. The compromise might be somewhere right around here. Let's lower the brightness some. If I lower the brightness, it should saturate more. And that might be the compromise we have to live with, guys. And if so, that's okay. We're still at a 2.0. Maybe change the hue and maybe change the brightness a little more. Lowering the brightness a click. Lowering the hue one more click. Lowering the brightness one more click. And that actually looks pretty good. We went from a 2.2 or so to a 0.9. Again, anything under 1, I'm not going to lose any sleep over this. This is fantastic. So we can move on to another color. Let's take a look at cyan. Good luminance, pretty good saturation and hue. I think we can maybe tighten it up a little bit. Let's change the color to cyan. And let's first get the saturation under control. I'm going to desaturate cyan a little bit because the dot's on the outside of the triangle. And wow, this is funny, guys. I'm lowering saturation for cyan, and nothing happens until I get way, way, way down in the number, the value. So let's pop this back out, raise it, and the saturation is pretty good there. It is a little blue still, so let's change the hue. And I'm going to the right, and that's the wrong way. I've had all bad guesses today on which way to go. Let's go to the left, and the dot drops in the hole. Now, because we had to desaturate it so hard, look at the luminance error now. Let's take the brightness control for cyan, and let's raise it. Now look what that's doing to the saturation. So I'm going to have to fight this for a minute here to get a compromise between the saturation and the luminance. You guys can see it right now. The cyan on the screen is almost white. Very, very, very light cyan. So let's put some saturation back in. That should make us more saturated and brighter at the same time, just like what we did with, I think, blue, if I'm not mistaken. Keep raising it, keep raising it, keep raising it. A little more, a little more, a little more. And there's my cyan right there. 0.6 delta error, that looks great. All right, moving on to magenta. Okay. I actually take this so I don't lose all the work we've done. Let's go to magenta now. And what's wrong with magenta? Too bright, but everything else looks pretty good. Let's lower that brightness of magenta just a little bit. Shouldn't take much. Oh, 4 clicks was too much. 2 clicks did it. Yeah, 2 clicks. Luminance is good. Dots in the hole. 0.2, wow, 0.2 delta error. I'll take that all day. All right, last color is going to be yellow. And what's wrong with it is oversaturated. The luminance and the hue are pretty close. Let's lower that saturation a little bit. If I lower the saturation, look what it's doing to the luminance, guys. It's crushing. So it's going to be behaving like cyan did. So let's get the brightness correct first. And if we do the brightness first, that might help us get everything under control. Actually, wow. So I have to let me raise the brightness. That's going to desaturate yellow naturally. And maybe, just maybe, go to hue control. If we can tighten up. Oh, I went the right way that time. Boom. And boom. So very, very similar to cyan. We found a good combination of the controls to get everything under control. So we've got very little to no delta error on lumen, same thing with saturation, same thing with hue, and we're at a 0.5 with yellow. So if we look at our delta errors here, guys, the worst color is red, and only because it's a little too green, and it's still a 2.1, so it's still within tolerance. So even though this isn't pretty on the graph, you know, the dot's not in the hole, and the luminance is okay, but the dot's not in the hole. It's still within tolerance, guys, so don't stress over this. Don't lose any sleep. Now, I want to make sure that there's no interaction between each color as I was making those adjustments. So what I tend to do here is just take another run, run here of the entire color gamut. And let's make sure none of these colors interacted or did anything funky. Look, guys, that looks pretty good. The dots are all in the holes. Luminance values are all within tolerance. Again, our biggest delta error is a 2.5 on red, no big deal. You got 0.5s, 1s, 0.6s, 0.3s, 0.4s. This is fantastic, guys. This is really, really good. Now, the rest of the session is going to be just double checking things we've already done. The new version of CalMan, if you're on an older version, this may be a new test to you. This is called the saturation sweeps. Remember, we calibrated each color at 100% saturation, which is not, by the way, always the right way to do it. What this test does is it tells us how saturated red is from 0 saturation all the way up to 100% saturation. So 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%. Now let's see how this tracks. This will tell us if using 100% targets for our CMS was the right thing to do. And it actually looks pretty darn good. Now you see, guys, 20, 40, 60, and even 80 are all pretty darn close. Now here's the $1 million question. Would you rather have the middle better or the extremes better? I'd rather have the middle better. There's way more information in a movie or TV show here than there is way the heck here. So if I make a little bit of a sacrifice here, but these are all good, totally worth it. I love that. Of course, ideally we'd have all the dots in the holes, but you know, can't always do it. Green looks pretty good, nice and straight. Blue's a little undersaturated, you know, 16 to 80%, but not bad. The cyan looks great. Magenta looks pretty darn good, a little oversaturated, but still within tolerance again. And then our yellows are all pretty tight, nice straight lines. That's good stuff. Chris says it's more important to get the sweeps up in the 60% target. Exactly what I was just saying, Chris. Good call. So I'd rather these middle levels be correct than the extremes. You're exactly right. That looks pretty good. Now, just to point one thing out here, guys, there's nothing I can fix here necessarily. So if like this blue is undersaturated and I change my target to 80% instead of 100%, I might fix this blue. It might throw off the others, right? So this page is more than an evaluation page more than anything. Now, if you did implement like a Lumigen processor or something that could do lookup tables, you could get this a bit tighter. You know, but that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother webinar. Rudy says, oh, Rudy took off. Great session. Thank you, Rudy. Thanks for hanging out. We're getting towards the end here anyway, guys. We're going to double check the brightness. And while this stuff is loading, guys, I just wanted to say a quick thank you. A few of you, especially Chris Deering, gave me some great tips on this projector. As I said at the beginning, I don't have a ton of experience with these. This is the first time I've actually had one in my home and been able to spend lots and lots of time with it. So, again, we can maybe do some follow-up with this projector in the next, couple weeks or so. I'm going to do my best to try to enjoy it for a little while, watch a couple movies on it, and really get a good feel for it. I've never had a projector in the house before. I've always worked on it for other people and things like that. So this should be pretty fun, and I'm really excited for this 235 screen. I did that on purpose because I knew this JVC had a lens memory. The brightness still looks good. I can still see 17. Everything looks fine. The contrast, I can still see 234. That looks good. No changes there, luckily. We're going to recheck the luminance. I think we were around 50 foot lamberts or so. And now, once we're calibrated, at least for SDR, we are, as soon as this JVC projector syncs up, come on, test pattern. We're 39. Maybe we change the lamp back to low, or maybe we lowered the contrast. But 40, guys, this is still 40 foot lamberts on an 85-inch screen sitting, 8 feet away. It's really, really cool. Really cool. Another question looks like it may have came up. Marcel says, when you get to 100% saturation, you should spot as well 25, 50, 75. Yep, absolutely. Great observation. The setting on CalMan for this page was set to increments of 20. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. You can change the saturation sweeps right here from 20% to 25%. You could do 10%. You could do 5% sweeps if you want to. If you really wanted to get down and dirty, you could see the sweeps in increments of 5s. If you want to get real crazy here, but a little overkill for what we're doing. But yeah, you can totally change that as much as you want. So you're looking at 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, all the way through red. Cool test if you have the time. If I'm a TV manufacturer, or if I work in a studio and I'm calibrating studio monitors, I might go this crazy, right? You want to make sure that thing's tracking great all the way through. I'm not going to put you guys through that. That's going to be way too much time to sit here. I'll change this back to 25. I'm sorry, I'll change this back to 20 or 25, either way. The factory default setting in CalMan is 20. All good though, you can do whatever you want here. Just depends on how much data you want to see. And so let's run this one more time. One thing I will say about the latest version of CalMan, which I really like, in previous versions of CalMan, the saturation sweeps and the color checker would not show up on the calibration report at the very end. I would just screenshot those, no big deal. But on the latest CalMan data that they released a couple weeks ago, the sweeps and the color checkers are ending up on the graph, on the performance reports, which I think is really cool. So up there, guys, they did just announce recently that 2020 beta can be available real soon. So if you guys are on that beta list for CalMan, keep your eyes peeled because you'll see that 2020 beta. They said late March, early April. So any day now, any day now. So there's our sweeps. We rechecked the black level, white level. Those look great. We rechecked the luminance. We're still plenty bright. If I wanted to go back and make more adjustments, I could pick back to display settings. It'll start the workflow over again. We're not going to do that. We're just going to go post calibration. It does do the saturation sweeps one more time. Everything that you do post calibration on in the workflow, everything you do from here on out is going to be on the report. So if you skip the saturation sweeps here because you did it previously, it's not going to show up on the report at the end. It's only going to show up on the report at the end if you do it from here to the end of the workflow. So we'll run this one more time. Yeah, the other thing that's killing me in this room too, guys, in this system, I've got an Oppo 105, which is a fantastic Blu-ray player and a fantastic CD player and a fantastic preamp actually, and pack and all the other things. I don't have a 4K player out here yet. I can always run along. I've got a Oppo 203 in the other room running the OLED, so I can always run a long cable out to the living room if I wanted to watch some HDR tonight. I could always do that, but one of these days I'll replace. I might keep the Oppo as a CD player. Who knows? It's going for big money on eBay these days. But for my own personal setup here, I would love to get into that Panasonic 9000. I've seen it a few times out in the field at people's homes and whatnot. We have one in the lab in Sioux Falls. We use it for the ISF classes. And because it does the tone mapping, if the JVC or any projector for that matter falls short when it comes to the EOTF, the Panasonic 9000 and even the 820 have that HDR tone mapping built into it. It's really, really cool feature. It really helps a lot. But I'm sure some 1080p out here is going to look great for SDR. All right, cool. Let's check the color checker. Fingers crossed on this. The saturation sweeps are pretty good, so I would expect this to be pretty good as well. While it's running, it looks like there's a question. Andrea says, can we see a calibration on newer JVC projector at some point? Andrea, absolutely, man. If we can get a hold of a JVC, a new projector, if you happen to have any contacts, maybe a distributor, or maybe you just know somebody that could get us a loaner. If you have that kind of connection, then let us know. We have our connections as well, but especially with what's going on right now, to call up some of our friends and say, hey, can you send me a $10,000 projector? Might not be the easiest thing to get a hold of right now, but if I hit the lottery, I'll buy one. If you can get a hold of one, let me borrow for a few days. I would certainly be happy to do it. I do have a personal friend of mine who just got a JVC NX7, and at some point we're going to go calibrate that for him. That should be a pretty fun experiment too. He's a good friend of mine, so I'll be able to spend as much time on as I want to. Not bad for the color checker. The average delta error is a 1.5. The biggest delta error was a 5.1. It looks like a cyan, kind of blue cyan color, this guy right here. But other than that, everything else is pretty spot on. What's really standing out to me, guys, are the skin tones. All of these tans and darker colors right here for skin tones, those are all under 2. So I'm expecting these skin tones on this thing that look fantastic. And let's be honest, it's a JVC with a great lens, so I'm expecting a pretty good picture out of this guy. Suresh has a question. Would you be running a session on calibrating it for an LED screen at some point? If I can get a hold of one, Suresh, I sure would love to. I've been considering for new models going forward, just buying them, and then using them in other projects, maybe using them in the lab or something. I only have here at the house this JVC projector. I've got a 55-inch LG OLED and a 65-inch LG OLED. So that's all I've got in the house right now to actually play with. But if I can get a hold of a really nice LED screen, or again, I'll mention to you, like I said to Andreas, if you have any connections that could let me borrow one for a week or something like that, then sure, I would absolutely love to. I actually considered putting a Sony Z9 in the living room before I did the projector thing. Of course, I might do that again in the future or later in the future, but the way my house is set up, dark movies in the bedroom at night, bright movies or bright TV shows in the living room during the day. So a really nice bright LED like the Sony Z9, or gosh, if any of you guys have ever played with any of those new Vizios, I did I think it's called a PQX or a Q series or X series or P series. I think I'm mixing that up right now, but man, that thing was like 2,400 nits or something ridiculous. So for a bright living room, especially if you're watching HDR during the day, that'd be sweet. So guys, I'm not going to bore you to death by putting all the settings in here, but you guys just from this point out, what I would normally do, what you probably do as well. A lot of folks will take pictures with their phone of all the settings. Some folks will fill this out here, what picture mode they were in, what color temperature they used, all those good things. Some folks have a spreadsheet that they built that they'll put the settings in. Do this however you'd like. The whole point of this, guys, is that the client and you, as the calibrator, has a record of what the new settings should be. So God forbid this thing gets reset someday by accident or something and the customer loses all the settings, you have a record of it. So I'm not going to fill it out again. I'm just going to save you guys some time here. I know we're getting close to this 2-hour mark. Suresh. So he actually was talking about like a micro LED screen where the LEDs are the pixels. Suresh, man, I've seen these displays for the past like 3 years or so at CD and Infocom and ISE and some of these shows. The smallest one that I know of right now is a Samsung at 75 inches. And as far as I know, it's not really available yet to the public. If you have a ton of money and maybe a connection, I think it is something that you might be able to get your hands on. I know the big Sony Cletus wall, I know they did sell maybe 1 or 2 of those. But again, we're in the $1 million range on a micro LED wall that big still. Once the prices come down and we start getting some to be more affordable, I think we'll see more of them. If I'm not mistaken, somebody feel free to correct me here. I think Samsung said that they will have a micro LED TV that you can buy I think next year, 2021. And they actually just announced too that they're completely halting their LCD manufacturing. So Samsung's been talking now for a couple years about this QLED OLED hybrid, and they're talking a lot about micro LED. So we might see one of those, Suresh. We might see one of those in the next year or two. But I'm telling you, man, as soon as I can get a hold of one, trust me, I'll do a video and I'll walk through it with you guys, because I'm excited to see those myself. I love the idea of building a 75-inch TV, and then when you save some more money a year later, you want to go with a 100-inch TV, just buy some more tiles and slap them on and click them together like Legos. Great technology and lots of potential. Perfect black like an OLED, P3 color, 1,000 nits. So those have a lot of potential. So I'm very excited to see those. Miguel says, do you plan to organize another JVC training with current models and HDR? Again, Miguel, I'll say the same thing I said to Andreas. If I can get a hold of one, I would absolutely love to. It's just a matter of having a company or a distributor or even JVC let us borrow one for a few days or a week or a month or so. But that's a little tough right now. But yeah, if I can get a hold of one, absolutely, I would love to do it. Okay, let's just take the last couple last things here, guys, and let's just double check all of our stuff. We're gonna do the post calibration view for SDR. And let's just kind of triple check everything and make sure everything is within tolerance and the errors are under control and nothing weird. A little bit of blue in the middle, but again, we're still in tolerance. 325, 327, and there's a 331 right there, 20. So I might go back and tighten that up a little bit. But guys, look at the color gamut. We knew about red, yellow's great, green's great, cyan, magenta, blue, white. Our luminance levels are very, very good. In fact, they're excellent in some cases, like blue and yellow specifically. But our delta errors for primary and secondary colors, again, 2.6, 0.6, 10, 0.6, 0.4, 0.4. Guys, this is a great, great, great calibration. I would expect this projector to look awesome in SDR. And again, I do have a little bit of a high tolerance, especially living with the OLED, but having it this size and being able to sit closer and have that 235, it's just a different experience. I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it either way. With that being said, guys, that's the report. We're gonna save session and view report. And this is, of course, what the client's gonna see at the end of the day. I always encourage calibrators to keep a copy of the report themselves. That way you know what all the settings are supposed to be. And you never know, maybe a customer emails you 6 months later and says, hey, I lost my report. I wanted to show my buddy. Do you still have it? You can send it to them. We did the ISF workflow, so we're going to pick the ISF report. And we're going to let that generate. It does take a second. Spinning, spinning, spinning. And oh yeah, again, new laptop. I need to put my ISF logo back in here. So we're going to get the report here. We've got the before and after with the settings. We've got the before and after with the grayscale and the gamma. That actually was a huge improvement. We should get nice, good blacks out of this now, at least better than what they were. Just preliminary, before I started the webinar, I was just looking at some content. That was one thing I noticed big time, is that the blacks were pretty light. So we fixed the gamma. We'll watch at nighttime. I'll watch up tonight. Hopefully it should be a lot better. Again, I have a high tolerance for it because I've been living with an OLED for 3 or 4 years now. But this all looks good, guys. This is a good SDR calibration. If this was real world environment, I might sit here and work on it some more. Maybe do a specific dedicated dark mode. I mean, I kind of did more of a bright mode for this session because, again, it's daytime out. I've got some ambient light in the room. I mean, I do have blackout curtains, but they're not perfect. The walls are white, so I went with a 2.2. If this was the real world, again, I'd probably sit here and spend a little more time and do a night mode as well. But that's it, guys. That's all I got for you. I hope you learned something. I know I sure did. Again, I don't have a million. I haven't done a million of these like I've done a million other flat panels and tons of Sony projectors. So I was able to pick up plenty of tips from you guys to get through some of these menus a little easier, to get things a little faster. So thank you for those tips. Stephen asks, what do you mean I have a high tolerance because of the OLED? Stephen, I just mean that I'm used to black being perfect. And when you see an LCD panel or a projector and the blacks aren't perfect black, you do get kind of spoiled because of the OLED. That's all I meant by that. But yeah, thank you guys so much. This webinar, I did record it. So if you feel that any of your colleagues or anybody else might be able to take advantage of any of this, and maybe pick up some tips along the way, feel free to share it. I'll get it posted up on YouTube in the next, maybe tonight or tomorrow at the latest. So thanks again, guys. I'll leave the question box open for another minute or so. If anybody does have anything that they would like to ask, then feel free. And if not, I will sign off here in a few seconds, and we'll see you guys on the next webinar. Oh, looks like a question did come in. Oh, Vance just says thank you. Cool, thanks Vance, thanks for hanging out, man. I've seen your name on a couple of these webinars now. Thank you so much for hanging out. Same thing with you, Christian. I've seen you on a bunch of these. So thank you guys who've been coming back, and I hope you guys are finding good ways to spend your time. I've been super busy doing the webinars and stuff. I know a lot of folks right now are just kind of home hanging out. You know, this is why we wanted to do these webinars. We wanted to take some time to use this downtime productively and hopefully teach you guys some tricks and stuff along the way. So it looks like we're getting a bunch of thanks, and looks like people are signing off. So again, I'll leave this question box open for another few seconds, maybe a minute. And yeah, Chris, thanks, you too, man. We'll see you on the next one. Jonathan asks, do you have a link to a list of your future webinars? Jonathan, if you go to any of the AV Pro websites, so avproedge.com, murideo.com, or bullettraincables.com, the very first link on the very first page of all of those websites is a training schedule. So feel free to go to any of those websites, click on that training schedule. You'll have registration links with the topic and what days and what times. And again, these are free. Invite your friends. You can take as many as you want. Cool, guys. I don't see any other questions coming in. So thank you so much. If you guys want to reach out to me directly, maybe you think of a question, you know, tonight or, you know, tomorrow or something, my email address is jason@avproglobal.com. So if you guys have any specific questions about anything that you can think of related to AV Pro or ISF or classes or anything like that, you guys can always email me. No big deal. Feel free to do that. And with that being said, everybody's signing off now. So thank you guys so much again, and we will see you next time.